So what is the idea behind rock and roll sushi? You got rock and roll, you got sushi, you
Yeah,
got grilled meat, also grilled fish, it sounds like. So
yeah. So,
what's the whole deal?
okay, well, here's the secret sauce. It's
Uh-huh.
taking a food, sushi, and it's making it approachable to folks that maybe didn't go eat sushi before. Maybe they didn't know enough about it, or maybe the sushi restaurant in their area was a little more high end. Maybe felt a little pretentious to them. Maybe they didn't feel comfortable not knowing about the menu and feeling like they didn't look educated on it. Or more of a mom and pop traditional sushi place where maybe there's a little bit of a language barrier. There's something there where it's just not as approachable.
Right.
And what the founders did, and this is the magic, is they made this. Um, they took sushi and they brought it to those people and made it approachable. You add the rock and roll, and you add the rolls the way we do them, where we will fry some and we'll bake some. So for a person that's looking for the more traditional sushi, we've got it. We've got the sashimi, the nigiri, we've got the rolls that aren't fried and all that. But for the person that maybe thinks, well, I don't like it because I don't do raw fish.
Right.
Well, all right, we'll get you in. So what I'm seeing is I became a franchisee first. I kind of fell into this role backwards. This was this was not my intention. The opportunity found me. I was a franchisee in Little Rock, opened in the middle of the pandemic, scared to death. I mean, just couldn't believe what I'd jumped into with both feet. But I opened end of last May, and by the end of July, I had opened my second location. Once again, not planned, just real estate fell on my lap and I couldn't turn it down. And I already saw what Rock and Roll Sushi was doing on the 3PD delivery and just the brand. And I was starting to get the magic. I was starting to see that, these people were coming in for an experience. It's a sushi experience, really.
What was it about rock and roll sushi that appealed to you?
Well, so I had taken a break and I have a friend that I work with on another project, and he knew, my background with restaurant, and he was like, hey, you need to meet my brother. They're doing this cool thing and called Rock and Roll Sushi. And I said, I don't know anything, about the sushi business. I come from wraps and smoothies. That's that's what I did. And, I don't want to talk about that. And he just kind of kept bringing it up. And he was like, hey, no, they've got this sushi place in Alabama. And I always joke about it because I'm like, well, now I know you're crazy because that doesn't make any sense.
Right. Mobile,
But
Alabama sushi.
right. But
Right.
the more I dug into it and then he got me interested, I was like, well, wait a minute. These guys are doing this in Alabama. Why don't I test it in Arkansas? Because, it's really this, they're very similar. The
Mm-hmm.
states are, just one has a really, really good football team. And I took it to Little Rock because I'm from that area. I know a lot of people. I have a team there that I'd worked with for years, and they were looking for something. So we jumped on that in Little Rock, and yeah, it works.
And you opened in May of last
I
year.
opened the very end of May, where we were 33% seating, and just it was tough.
Yeah, why on earth did you do that?
Well, I'd
You
already
had the real
signed the
estate fell
lease.
in your lap, I guess. Yeah.
I already signed the lease. I mean,
Uh,
we were under construction, and then the pandemic hit. I mean, it hit pretty quick.
right.
It was like bam, and then there it was on us. And then there's really no turning back at that point. And like I said, I was seeing the trend line already change, so I wasn't, totally freaking out at that point. I thought, okay, all right, they've figured this out, and look, I built my first thing with just a ton of hard work. So that's how you do it. You just work a lot.
And now you're CEO of Rock and Roll Sushi?
That's correct.
How
Yes.
how did that happen?
Yeah, that's a pretty good story too. So the
That's why we're here.
the founder of Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Eric Genrich, is also a friend of mine, and we live close to each other in the Panhandle of Florida. So he's formed what's called Bold Brands, and Bold Brands owns Island Wing Company, a new startup that it has controlling interest called Taco, Takko. And then when I was doing Rock and Roll Sushi, he got interested and said, "What are you doing?" And I went through the whole spiel, right? Sushi, Alabama, well, you're crazy. And then I had opened the store in Little Rock, so able to share our successes there. And that's when he got really interested and thought, well, maybe Bold Brands will buy controlling interest. And he struck up a deal with the founders. Bold Brands did pick it up, and he said, but here's the kicker. I need you to run it. And I was like, okay. So that, you know, that's how I fell into the opportunity kind of backwards. But I think it does make sense. I think I really do understand the brand. I get it. I really like it. I'm very, very passionate about it. And I think it's got amazing potential. So I am excited to take on this role that, like I said, I'm a franchisee first. That's what I've always done. I've always been on the other side of the table of the CEO, right?
Right.
So now it actually has a lot of benefit, because when I sit and talk to a franchisee and you have some of those uncomfortable conversations about certain topics, I'm like, hey man, I'm you.
Right.
I've been you for my whole career. I'm not this, you know, don't look at me at like this corporate, you know, corporate can have that bad connotation. Oh, he's with corporate. I'm like, man, that's not in my DNA. That's who I'm, you know, I represent you because I still am a franchisee. I own 2 Rock and Roll Sushis in Little Rock, 1 in Tallahassee, and I have 2 more leases signed in each of those towns. So I'll be a multi-unit, 5-unit franchisee owner by the end of the year.
And what are like the popular menu items at Rock and Roll Sushi? I'm thinking tempura. Do you have a lot of tempura?
We do. But I would say the VIP roll, which is, you know, you can get it baked or fried, but it's going to have the shrimp tempura and the tuna and topped with crab meat. And it's just delicious, and some amazing sauces on top. But my personal favorite is the punk rock roll. And the punk rock roll, what separates it is on top, we put this blend of jalapeno, mango, cucumber, and I'm missing one ingredient, but it's this like savory, sweet, spicy topping with a couple sauces on that. And it's just, it's an amazing sushi roll. So that's
Sounds
what I
good.
would say. If you came into a Rock and Roll Sushi, I'd put a punk rock roll right in front of you, right out of the gate.
Does that topping look a little bit like a mohawk?
It does.
So
I think that's
there
fair.
you go.
Oh, strawberries. There it was. When you said mohawk, I thought red, and that's the final ingredient in that topping is chopped up strawberries.
Wow, you and I are vibing. And you mentioned that you have a strong franchise team. What do you think is great about your franchisees?
You know, a lot of times when you're where we are, under 50 units, right?
Mm-hmm.
So much of the growth was organic because the founders, they've got to be hustlers. It's a really good story. It's this, you know, husband-wife team that just had this idea in Mobile, Alabama, and they worked super, super hard at it. They figured it out. The combination of the sushi and the rock and roll and the rock videos playing in there, the nostalgia is off the charts. And because it was contagious and grew organically through like their friend group or customers would come in. I mean, they didn't have a budget, right? They weren't going out selling franchises. People were wanting to open up Rock and Roll Sushis in the geographical region, and they kind of grew out from Mobile. And that's why the main density is in Alabama, because they grew kind of up into the state. And because you have those people and you've got those early adopters, they have to work twice as hard because the systems are not created. The systems are created at that stage when it's, you know, this wasn't like, you know, a group that had 4 other concepts and they pop this one out and everything's polished. You know, the great ideas come from within when you're really figuring it out organically. So because of that, you've got a very resilient, passionate group of franchisees that have put so much hard work into this thing. They're the reason that we keep opening units.